Hello! Alright everybody, it's time for Gen 6! Gen 6 is full of some really well-designed Pokemon, so I'm really excited to review this one. In case you haven't watched my other videos in this series, I'm going to be going through every single Pokemon in Gen 6 and telling you my opinions about it. If you do like this video, make sure you drop a like and watch the other videos in this series. First off, we have Chespin. He's definitely my least favorite of these three starters. He kind of looks like that kid that would wear like a winter hat even if it was really hot out. I was trying to find something about Quilladin that's not awkward, but I can't. Everything about him is super awkward. Chestnut is kind of cool, but I've never used one because the first two stages are just so meh that I never really bothered. Fennekin is adorable. Originally, when I saw this Pokemon, I was just like, yes, I'm starting with that one. Then they revealed this evolution Braixen, and I was like, okay, still cool. Don't love it as much as Fennekin, but it's still looking pretty good. And then finally they revealed Delphox, and I decided I no longer wanted to start with Fennekin. Delphox is a really cool concept, but they did a couple things with it that make it really awkward. They added this like dark burnt orange color to the already red orange that it has on its body, and it just does not look right. I think if those dark red parts were white instead and they went for like a white witch aesthetic, because they're going for a witch aesthetic anyways, it would have been so much cooler. And also cut the hair out of its ears because ew, gross. When I originally saw Gen 6's starters, I was all about Fennekin, so Froakie I was just like, meh. But now that I've started with a Froakie and I know what he turns into, Froakie is definitely a very cool starter. A lot of middle stages of starters tend to be pretty awkward, but Frogadier is definitely not. He looks really awesome and kind of sleek. They kept his color palette really minimal and it works so well. And then Greninja is one of the most loved Pokemon, period. Not only is it fantastic and competitive, but its design is super cool. I know some people get down about the whole like tongue scarf thing going on, but that doesn't even really bother me. Bunnelby is okay. I don't totally hate it. I feel like it gives us a different type of bunny Pokemon than we've seen in the past. Diggersby I don't like quite as much. I feel like it would have worked better if this was a mole Pokemon instead of a bunny Pokemon. And I also really don't like the yellow stripe down his chest. I feel like they could have made that brown instead and it would be a cleaner design. Fletchling is the best designed beginning bird Pokemon, period. There was just so much attention to detail, so much personality. It's just so good. Fletchinger is definitely the weakest of this line in terms of design, but it's definitely a logical middle stage if you look at the designs like in progression. When I first saw Talonflame, I actually didn't like it. I know that's gonna be a controversial opinion because everybody's all about Talonflame. I think it's its legs. I really liked how its first two stages had those black, really kind of tinier legs, and Talonflame has these like giant legs. But I got over that pretty quickly because Talonflame is awesome and every other aspect of its design is really cool. I don't really care that much about Scatterbug. Spupa is not really that interesting to me either, but Vivillon is actually pretty cool because it can have all of those different patterns, and I really like how its eyes kind of encompass that like compound eyes kind of look of a bug. Litleo is like the Shinx of fire types. I love it. It's great. I like how Pyroar has the male lion, female lion thing, and this Pokemon just looks really cool, fierce, majestic. Like, it's just well designed. Flabebe is adorable and tiny. And when I first saw it, I was like, oh my god, is this like a mythical Pokemon? And then there were like a million of them, so I quickly learned that it was not. Floette feels like a natural evolution from Flabebe. This is a very well-designed middle stage. And even AZ has a Floette, so this Pokemon was actually given significance in the story. Florges is also really neat. It's got a little bit of the human thing going on, but it's not too much where we enter like Uncanny Valley or anything like that. Skiddo is adorable. This was basically like the Wooloo of this generation. Being able to ride around on Go-Goats was really interesting. I really like how its horns kind of make these handlebar shapes. Like you can imagine riding onto one and holding onto the horns for dear life so they don't fall off. Pancham looks like the type of Pokemon where you'd be like, oh, you're so cute, and it would beat you up because you called it cute. I like how Pangoro is basically Kung Fu Panda done right. Like they made him a dark type and they made him really scary looking, and it just is a totally different side of that type of aesthetic, and I love it. Furfrou was okay. I like that you could change its appearance to all of these different things. And since it's basically a poodle, it fit really well in this France-based generation. Esper is so cute, but its eyes are so dead inside, so I just want to give it a hug. I didn't really like Meowstic at first. I didn't feel like there was a lot going for it, but now that I've had more time to kind of adjust to its design and see it in animation, I feel like it's an interesting Pokemon. Honedge is such an interesting concept. Like, I feel like whenever they have ghost Pokemon, they come up with their best ideas. Doublade, though, I feel like is kind of a weak evolution evolution for this Pokemon in terms of design, because you go from having one sword to having two swords, and they do that a lot where they're just like, let's give it an extra head. And it works if that's gonna like build to something like, you know, Hydreigon becomes this like Hydra Pokemon. It makes sense it's gonna have multiple heads. But this one doesn't build to having like 3 swords or something, because that wouldn't make any sense. Aegislash does it right though. Like the sword and shield concept and the fact that it can switch from like defense form to attack form is just so good and creative, and it worked so well competitively. Like I had one back in the day. It was so good. Fritzy itself is okay. It's like a little bottle of perfume. Makes sense to have in France. But Aromatisse is an abomination. That is a horrible design. They combined like Plague Doctor with Can-Can Dancer with perfume, and it just doesn't make any sense. Swirlix is cute and derpy. I love the way its tongue is just like eh. Slurpuff is also really derpy. I don't love this Pokemon, but I definitely don't hate it either. Inkay is adorable and its typing is super interesting. I also love how to evolve it, you have to actually flip the DS upside down. I would have never figured that out if I didn't look it up. And then Malamar actually does look like Inkay if you flipped it upside down. It also looks really scary, but in the best possible way. Binacle, I do not like. I don't understand how it would function in real life. Like it just, no. I have similar feelings for Barbaracle. I don't know if it's the Pokemon's eyes or faces or what it is exactly, but I just don't really like these Pokemon. Skrelp is super interesting. It's got this like seahorse plant thing going on. Then it evolves into Dragology. I hope I'm saying that right. And one of the coolest things about this Pokemon is it's so hard to tell what type it is. Like you assume since Skrelp is poison water that this one's gonna be poison water too, except it's not. And then you're like, wait, what is it? And you're like, maybe it's a plant because it's got this kind of like seaweed plant thing going on. Nope, that's not working. And you finally realize, oh, this is a dragon. It's like the camouflage actually works on trainers. I've had so many people tell me that they didn't know what type this Pokemon was until they actually had to fight it, and it was really hard. Clauncher would be a pretty basic Pokemon, except that its color scheme is awesome. Clawitzer though has an awesome design and an awesome color scheme, so great Pokemon. As soon as I saw Helioptile, I knew I had to have it on my team. It just looks really cute, but it also looks like it's gonna evolve into something awesome, and spoiler alert, for like 2 seconds from now, it does! Heliolisk is an amazing design. It reminds me of that dinosaur from Jurassic Park that's like face fans out and then it like spits poison and stuff. Like that was so cool, except this one's like an electric version and its neck is also like solar panels. Like so creative and so cool. Tyrant is a T-Rex. I've already said I like dinosaurs. I feel like I don't really need to say anything more because it's a T-Rex. And then Tyrantrum is just a bigger T-Rex instead of a baby T-Rex, and it looks like it has a crown on its head, which just works so well. It's like the king of the dinosaurs. Like, yes. Amora is also a dinosaur, but it takes it in the totally opposite direction. It's like the beautiful dinosaur as opposed to the like tough eat your face off kind of dinosaur. Aurorus is like Amora, but even bigger and more majestic. Sylveon! Oh, so cute! The poster child of the fairy type. I love Eevee. Whenever they give Eevee a new evolution, I'm just all about it. And Sylveon is so cute with the little bows, and its blue eyes look like they're all like sparkly. When I first saw Hawlucha, I was just like, okay, that's a pretty cool design. I was kind of disappointed that it doesn't evolve. Then in my first playthrough of this generation, I ended up having a Hawlucha on my team just as a like, oh, I need to fill a spot and it's a fighting type. And I quickly realized that Hawlucha is awesome. A lot of times for a luchador Pokemon, it would just be a fighter, it would just be fighting type. But this one's fighting and flying, so you really get this sense of this like luchador that like jumps up high and like body slam. While Dedenne looks a lot like Pikachu because it is the Pikachu clone of this generation, it has the fairy type, which makes it a little bit unique, and its Pokédex entries give it some unique qualities that kind of set it apart. I don't really love Carbink as a Pokemon, but its lore is really interesting, so I'm gonna give it a pass. Goomy is so derpy and weird. And the fact that it's just a dragon, I was so confused about this when I first saw it. Sliggoo is cool except for its eyes. I wish it either had Goomy's eyes or Goodra's eyes. Goodra is a really interesting take on a dragon type Pokemon. It's kind of got the cuteness of Dragonite, but it's like this slimy slug dragon. When I first saw Klefki, I really didn't like it because I was like, oh great, a Keyring Pokemon. But then I trained up a Klefki with the Prankster ability and like Clay and a whole bunch of crazy shenanigans, and it wiped entire teams. So I quickly grew to love this little guy. Phantump is an adorable little ghosty. Like, a lot of the ghost type Pokemon are kind of scary looking, but this one's just cute. I can't say that its evolution is cute though. Trevenant looks really scary. Pumpkaboo is also a really cute ghost, and I love that it comes in different sizes, and it's also just perfect for Halloween. Gourgeist is not as awesome as Pumpkaboo. Honestly, I sometimes forget that Gourgeist even exists. Bergmite is like this tiny little glacier, and it's so cute. And then Avalugg, being like this giant walking glacier, has so many implications for lore and potential like ways to incorporate it into the story. Noibat is another Pokemon where it's like, surprise, it's a dragon. When I saw that Noibat had that secondary dragon typing, I immediately put it on my team because I was just like, this is gonna evolve into something awesome. Then it evolved into Noivern, and I was not disappointed. Noivern looks like if Crobat was a dragon, and I already love Crobat, and I already like dragons, so this is great. Alright, next up are the legendary Pokemon. They did not include too many legendaries like some of the previous generations, so they're all pretty good. Xerneas is beautiful and majestic. It is the first fairy type legendary because it was the first generation where fairy was a type, and it's the reason why I picked Pokemon X over Pokemon Y. There's only two things that I don't love about Xerneas, and that's that its animations are sometimes a little bit off, and also when it's in its dormant form, its antlers don't have all those cool colors. I wish that they just had those all the time. I have heard this next Pokemon's name pronounced in so many different ways, so I'm just gonna insert a clip of somebody saying its name right over here.
Yveltal.
Thank you, random person. I like this Pokemon a lot. I think it looks pretty scary. I just don't like it as much as Xerneas. Zygarde is an awesome concept, but I think they got a little bit confused about how exactly they wanted to execute it. So they kind of skipped Pokemon Z, and because of that, Zygarde has been scattered throughout a couple of different games, and it doesn't really make sense to do that with this Pokemon. It really does have enough lore to have its own game, so I really hope that someday, maybe when they remake these games, instead of doing an X and Y, they could maybe do a Pokemon Z. Diancie is super interesting and majestic. I don't love Hoopa's design, but it's not bad. What I really like about Hoopa though is its mechanic. Hoopa has made so many other Pokemon stories possible because it's able to shift around time and space and send things to different spots where they normally would not be. Like, the whole plot of Pokemon Masters would be completely impossible without Hoopa. I honestly don't know a ton about Volcanion. I know there's a movie about it, but I've never seen it. I do really like that it's both fire and water types. That's a very interesting combination, but I don't really love its design. And that's all the Pokemon for Gen 6. Overall, I think that this was a very well-designed generation. In fact, it might be the best designed generation of Pokemon, like even better than Gen 1. Oh no, I've enraged the Gen 1ers. I'm gonna be doing Generation 7 and 8 pretty soon, and you don't want to miss those, so make sure you hit subscribe. I post Pokemon videos on Fridays, and I'm also documenting my life in general, and those videos post on Sunday. Bye!